Hello and welcome to a pre-recorded session of the IEEE International Symposium on Digital Privacy and Social Media, being held in San Jose on the 1st of August 2022. My name is Katina and I'm the Executive Chair of the Symposium. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the main technical sponsor of our event, the IEEE Consumer Technology Society, for making this symposium possible. CTSOC realized they required a transdisciplinary approach to addressing global pressing issues related to the design and development of consumer technologies, and have called for diverse stakeholders to come together to respond to digital privacy requirements and matters pertaining to social media in particular. I would also like to thank for their patronage our gold patron, the IEEE Digital Privacy Initiative, and our silver patron, the Prototype Company, led by Darren Calbreth. And of course, for their ongoing support, the IEEE Society on the Social Implications of Technology's Technical Committee on Socio-Technical Systems, led by Dr. Robert Abbas, and the IEEE Santa Clara section, and the CTSOC San Francisco Bay chapter. Today we have with us Professor Diana Derval. Diana has a PhD, EMBA, and is a chair of DervalResearch. She's a pioneer decoding human behavior and preferences with biosciences. And today, Diana will present a seminar titled Divide and Conquer, Preventing Over-Targeted Advertising. And we welcome you today, Diane.
Hi, very nice to meet you all. And thanks, Katina, for having me.
Thank you for being here with us.
Okay, so today I'm happy to share on a hot topic, over-targeted advertising. So believe it or not, when I started looking into advertising for our customer some years ago, I was mesmerized how advertising was not targeted at all. It was, pretty random. We even joked saying there was a lot of collateral damage. For one person in the target, you would have 99% people who would be exposed. So exposed is an interesting term. It's a bit like you would be exposed to some kind of radiation, a bit scary. But so many years later, I was surprised to see that with social media, now we almost do the contrary. Now the advertising is over-targeted. So I was a bit, desperate. I thought, oh, finally we would, do a bit more, better targeted, fine-tuned advertising. No, now we are totally on the other side. And we will see during this short presentation that it's as upsetting for the consumer. So either way. So the three aspects I will be sharing with you. The first one is about the advertising fatigue. So it's not new, but it takes a different form. Then I will be talking about the importance of receptivity in advertising. And with social media, we see something new, let's say more intrusive than ever, that we would call advertising complicity, and then I will share some recommendations for people, how to protect their privacy, also for platform providers, whether it's social media platform or device manufacturers, as well as for brands, what they can do. So for the little story, I used to work for French television, in fact. So I was not presenting, that's why I left. But I was working on yield management and advertising and things like that. So I know the business from the inside. And what is sure is that there has always been an advertising fatigue. So let's face it, nobody really likes advertising. When it's well done, it should be information, like if you get some data at the right moment, at the right time, at the right place, and you are in the target, it's information, but it's not always like that. So advertising fatigue, what does it mean? It means that people tend to ignore advertising in most cases. So they will consider it as wallpaper. Yeah, let's say that you have a banner always in one place. You will ignore it. In social media, when you scroll, after a while, you start having a bit an eye for what is your friend's information and what is advertising, so you start ignoring it. And at some point, or you ignore, or when it's too much, you switch platform. So that's what we had, for instance, with Netflix. People were really tired of having to be forced to see some advertising in order to see their content. So they went on Netflix. So right now, if you look at the social media landscape, for sure, platforms like Facebook or Instagram are getting way too crazy. Like I tried to count the other day, but I think it was at least 80% of my feed was advertising, which then it starts. Imagine if you transpose it to Netflix, like 80% of your movie would be advertising, I think, or on TV. So I think we are not at this type of level, even though there's a lot of brand placement on Netflix. I think we're still not at that level. So that's advertising fatigue. Another phenomenon that is important is advertising receptivity. So receptivity means that people think the information is important, worthy enough to be memorized. Yeah. So we do not memorize everything that we're exposed to. So being exposed is not enough. You want people to actually memorize it. And to be memorized, an information needs to be both relatable, like you can connect with it, it makes sense to you, and you need to be receptive. So it needs to be, the right moment. We'll talk about it later. But I'm in the middle of the transaction, I will not be receptive to an advertising. Yeah, I'm trying to buy something, that's not the right moment. Yeah, I'm scrolling hectically because I know that one of my friends, something happened, I want to find it, whatever. It's not the right moment. So there's a lot going on with receptivity. Also, another aspect we can talk about is the mood. Yeah, mood is very important. If you are not in the right mood, I was working for the Michelin Guide. The Michelin Guide, well, I was not, unfortunately, tasting in the restaurant. I would have loved that. But for instance, you would have 5 bad reviews, 5 good reviews, and you would ask a person to summarize and give an overall feedback. People who were in a bad mood, their overall feedback was bad. People in a good mood, their overall feedback was good. So the mood is important. Also the congruence, the congruence means that if you are, even if you could make advertising for cake, let's say in a bathroom, in a public bathroom, maybe you shouldn't do it. Yeah. So congruence means that what you are advertising makes sense with what is happening around it. Yeah. So you shouldn't kind of crash the party, with a very sad topic when people are in a good mood. This type of thing needs to be taken into account. So what it means is when you, I think engineers who are watching, they can relate to that. When you send packets of information, even packets of information, before being received, they will ask the question, is it okay? Can you receive my packet of information? Like the communication has to be both ways. Yeah, you need to open the communication. Here, basically, consumer, if they're not receptive, whatever you are telling, it doesn't come to them. Yeah, you're still paying probably for exposing them, but they are not getting any information. So the last part I wanted to talk about, these are more like the state-of-the-art observation, is what is called now advertising complicity. So it sounds almost like criminal matter, but actually it is, I think you have to see data like cars, so let's say that your data are cars, and then it's not because your car is parked somewhere that someone should steal it. Yeah. So what platforms are doing right now is somehow they're stealing the car, and then they're going to the brand and saying, oh, I have some stolen cars here, but brands should not buy the car because they're just available. Yeah. So I'm dramatizing a bit, but it's a bit what is happening. And research shows that consumer in that case, they blame more the brand. Yeah. So they say if somehow your favorite social media is showing you some advertising that you really feel is based on private data that they acquired in a more or less fishy way, the first that people will blame are the brands. But let's be clear, they are well aware that the platform had its hands into the story, and at some point then, and when they can, they will switch to another platform. Yeah. So I think this advertising complicity, it makes people even less receptive. Yeah. So I put the reference so you can check, viewer can check the article where you have also some information, some percentages. You know, if for people who like percentages, you can find them then in the article. So what are my 3 recommendations? So recommendation first for the users. Yeah. What is interesting is a couple of years ago, when people were talking about devices listening to you or doing things like that, to be honest, we would have said these people are a bit paranoiac, you know, it's a bit conspiration theory and things like that. But what they were saying a couple of years ago is happening today. It's happening today. And you have more and more discussions about, I don't understand. I just talked about something with my friend, and suddenly an advertising is mentioning that. How is that even possible? And some people are quite careful. You can now on your phone say that you want to switch the microphone for this app or this app, or you want to let them only use a microphone when you are using the app. But more and more people are having serious doubts. So here a hack for you. So I experimented it myself. So nothing happened to the phone on which we tested it. So I hope that don't sue us if you have a problem with your phone. Be very careful. So listen carefully. So if you go in the About Phone menu, so we tried it on Samsung, it worked. Xiaomi, they blocked this option recently. Very bad, Xiaomi, if you're watching. So now I'm dropping names. I hope you will not have to put bleeps instead, but you know, probably others are doing also. If you go on your Samsung About Phone, yeah, then you go in the software details, and then you find the build number of your Samsung phone. So it should work on some other brands. Now you have to click on the build 7 times. I know it sounds like a joke. It sounds like a scam. It is true. You can do it yourself. So I think some technician leaked the information on the internet. Then you can put yourself in developer mode. Then you are in developer mode on your own phone. Then you can go in the general settings of your phone, and you will see a new menu appear at the bottom. It's called developer option. Then when you go in developer option, so yeah, you need to pour yourself a drink before you do all that. Huh? Then you go in developer option, and you have something called quick tiles. And there you have a toggle button. You have a button that is called sensors off. So you can put the sensors of your phone off. And when you do that, there will be in the same menu where you have your flashlight, your Wi-Fi, you will have a little switch where you can put the sensor on and off, which is very practical, which means that if you have no business using your microphone or your camera, you can just switch them off, and they will send 0 information to the outside world. So this is valid for the rear, the front camera, the microphone, and also the gyro, you know, that detects the movement on your phone. So so I think that's really something to know, to investigate, and if you want some peace of mind, you know, you can do that. Another thing, but I think these people didn't wait for this session to do it, is to tweak your sensitive data. I think it happened to all of us to wish a happy birthday to someone. It was not their birthday because they put some random date of birth in social media. Another one that I think is so I'm not telling you to lie to social media, but you know, you can, by mistake, you can mistype your gender. That's very interesting, because if in general you are really upset by a lot of advertising you are receiving, just changing gender will make you laugh when you see the advertising, you know, because at least you're happy about yourself. You're like, as if I would care, you know. Another way also to blur your traces is, of course, not to accept cookies, to clean them regularly, to use a VPN, and to use one different email address per provider, you know, and per company where you order. So it sounds a bit over the top, but on the other hand, it's a bit like companies, they want to trace who did what. If you want to trace who is doing what with your data, then put a little bit of difference in your family name, a little difference in your email address, and it will be very interesting to see how your data were traveling. Yeah. So that's a recommendation for user. Recommendation for tech company. Yeah. So I think tech company, for now, consumers are more blaming the brands. But we talked about this advertising complicity, And people, you know, they're not silly, you know, they know that a platform somehow is facilitating all that, or that even the device is helping. Yeah. So I think that tech company and this platform should have stronger business ethics. So even if the brands are crazy, they should be in between, and they should say, no, we cannot do that. You know, yeah, but we have a lot of money. Yeah, no, you know, someone has to say, no, we will not do that even for a lot of money. So I think platform and tech companies should make it more difficult to collect sensitive data. Yeah. So they should, for instance, this switch that I told you about the sensor off, how come it's not in the main menu? How come you have to be a developer to get this option? But these are my data. This is my privacy. How come? So I was very glad to be part, you know, of the Santo Jose privacy, you know, symposium, because I think that you know, the IEEE has a lot of power, and I think that if I think that's the structure that can push a bit the lawmaker, because also technician, engineer are the one who know what can be done. You know, sometimes lawmakers, they don't even know what can be done. Like this example of sensors off, if it exists, then it should be given to people. Finally, the recommendation for the brands. Okay, so we did a lot of research, and for sure, when people are not receptive, it's like you are talking in the emptiness. It's useless. So they will not memorize, they will not take action. But now you have worse. You have people get angry, you know? Like a couple of years ago, people were seeing an advertising and they were like, oh, wow, what is it about? Like, it doesn't speak to me at all. And nowadays they're like, oh, wow, oh, wait, how come they know that, you know? But this puts you in a very suspicious, in a very bad mood. So people get upset at the brands who are doing that, which is the opposite, I think, of what the brands want to achieve. You don't want to upset people. So you should, so here's some advice. So first advice is you should only use one dimension. You know, it's too much. For instance, if you know people are in a particular city and you have a very precise information about them, it's too much to use both information, because then you really feel like someone is breathing in your neck, you know, like it's creepy. Yeah, it's too creepy. So I think you should or use the location or use the preferences. But if you narrow down too much, this is bad. And that's where the stalking is starting. Right now, this type of advertising on social media is stalking. This is not good. It's like you were talking with a friend 5 minutes ago. Oh, coincidentally, we have this product for you. No, it sounds very creepy. It's like, oh, we see that you are wearing blue. Yeah, yeah, no, you should not see any of that. You should not talk about any of that. So how to do that? Because I understand that brands, they want to communicate with people. How to do? So I think what you need to do is to try to understand people's deep needs. Yeah, you need to understand who are the persona. So we have been doing research for over 15 years, and I can tell you that we're all unique, but we are part of some typical persona. It's not caricature. People are all part of typical persona, you know? So for instance, conducting research, we found out that many system administrators in IT, they play poker. I shouldn't say it now, the company will know it. You know, you have some kind of pattern. So, but you can discover this pattern by observing people, of course, but you should never collect like private information. You can observe people out of interest. Oh, I'm curious to know people who like this type of camera or this type of drone, for instance. What type of people are there? Yeah, so you can observe and then you can see, oh, most of them, I see that they also do this or they also do that. And then you can try to connect with these people, but you should not follow an individual person, you know, and see that 2 weeks ago they did that and then interact with them about it. Yeah. So in the ranking of what was upsetting consumer the most, it was using their history. Yeah, that was really upsetting them the most. Yeah? Also, of course, following the law would be great. So I had many instances recently And really, I can cite all the social media between LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, promoting tobacco, like crazy things are happening. And I think there's much more control about the data posted by individuals than about data posted by brands, which, oh, I was a bit surprised. So the law is not being followed to start with. So that's preoccupying. So I think there's opportunity for technical companies to create maybe some, I want to say smart AI. It's weird to say smart AI, but almost all the implementation of AI I can see are not so smart. So maybe we need to add a smart to it that could detect this type of faux pas and that could correct them. Yeah. So to conclude, I would say that there's great opportunity to interact with consumer, but brands shouldn't blow it. Yeah, and platform have to be careful because it costs you a lot to migrate platform, so that's why people don't do it so much. But after a while, if it's too overwhelming, they just move, and then you lose all of your clients at once. So I think it's better to respect them from the beginning. So thank you so much. I put here my LinkedIn profile if you and my email if there's questions or viewer or complaints. You can reach me under these data.
Diana Derval, what a example of a great presentation that's to the point. People walk away remembering some key messages. And actually, I've gone back and looked at as many videos of your recordings as possible that are available publicly on the internet. And I keep thinking how much common sense you have. And this is a compliment because I believe the common sense sometimes is lacking today in our globe, both in various sectors of society. But, you're really self-aware. That's the first thing as an individual. And you almost model the behavior that we should be modeling. I look at you, I look at your work. There is a brand there underlying your business, DervalResearch. People want to listen to your message because it is done in such a caring way and preparatory way. But I love listening to your talks because they can be implemented, and your weight marketing, I think that I first saw from maybe 15 years ago or so, is very special. You said to us about mood and time and, how many, dimensions will we be trying to target the individual. But I think you have the right idea here. And I hope that there are people in Silicon Valley listening, because I think gone are the days that the advertising model is sustainable. It's not sustainable because people's attention is not sustainable. And we will probably end up getting sicker and sicker if we are mesmerized by this advertising or auto-scrolling into addictions. So if we want to do something that I call ethical marketing, we should be following your guide. And also, I believe it is more effective. And the other thing that I get a sense of by listening to you, I'm pretty sure that if you wanted to use your deep research of many years, you could manipulate people if you wanted to, but that's not what you're about. And I hope that industry is listening here, because it's not about manipulation. It's not about an endless growth curve. It's about offering the right product mix to people that actually want that product for themselves in different ways. We're all very different. So when you talk about tobacco advertising, we could also point to alcohol advertising to children, for example, and even gambling online. And this is unacceptable. As you say, we should be increasing our business ethics and should be using the abilities that we have within the IEEE fraternity to, enforcing laws and continually creating standards by which industry should follow. I'm very inspired by your message, and I'm very inspired by your delivery. And I think people need to stand up and listen and read your books and look at your videos and look at what you're doing, because I think it works for various types of either high-end products or services, or, your everyday products and services. So the fact that you've gone to the trouble to identify ways with which we can turn off sensors on phones. We can tweak various sensitivity of data settings on our browsers, and even these blurry traces of our digital footprints and chronicles tells me that you are wanting so much for the community, everyday people in society, to be protected. Okay, so this is what I try to say to my students. You know, of course, technology is fantastic if it is used the right way. Of course, look, we are making this communication now. I don't even know where you are on the Earth's surface. It doesn't matter, because this has enabled our conversation tonight. But I always tell the students, you know, it's not about manipulation. It's not about exploitation. It's not about attention. You know, we're living in the attention economy, but very much looking at addictions and making people physically unhealthy. So the fact that someone of your stature and your caliber has come out tonight to say things, and it's morning where you are, but to say things so forthright, congratulations. I think that is exactly more people like you that we need in the industry, in government, in NGOs, in voluntary settings, to say it like it is, because I think we are creating a society of fluff sometimes, where we are saying, oh, it's okay. The Google Nest device accidentally forgot the microphones in the Nest device. No, you cannot accidentally forget the microphones in the Nest device. You cannot accidentally forget the keyword wake words on a phone. You can't, it's not an accident. These things are not accidental. And so we keep pushing the boundary, but to what point before we push things over the edge? Or society thinks that they're constantly being surveilled, or we have these new kinds of illnesses where people think they're paranoid constantly because someone is listening, someone is watching. Oh, I have to turn off this and this device. I think you're spot on. Tell us now, if the advertising model that so much of our online digital world is looking at is to be replaced, what kind of model might there be, Diana? Where are we going to evolve to next?
Yeah. Yeah, so thank you so much, you know, for everything you said. I try to share it as it is. Well, maybe tomorrow I will be censored on all the platforms, who knows, you know. But, you know, I think at some point you need to speak up. And indeed, maybe common sense. As you said, you can have win-win-win situations, yeah? You do not need to manipulate. You do not need to nudge people. No. You just need to understand them, to see what they need, you know, to try to then approach them in a respectful way. So the key for the advertising is receptivity. So the key is you need to give people a choice. Do they want to interact with you or do they not want? Which means that, for instance, instead of interrupting the timeline with something very long, very whatever, it should be shorter, you know? It's like, oh, are you interested? Yeah, no. Then that's it. You know, so, and if you have the choice, okay, why not? Then you are more engaged, you are more receptive. So choice is very important. Yeah. Do you have the choice or not? Or are you interrupted no matter what? Then you have the congruence. Congruence is, does it make sense in the context? We are exposed to a lot of advertising, let's say brand placement, like you are in a movie and suddenly everybody at breakfast is eating milk and cereals, whatever, you know? So this is typical example, but this is certainly less disruptive, yeah? Well, at some point you're tired, like again, this, they have to drink that now or to eat that now, like it's like they are spending the whole movie eating, okay. So, but that is happening, it's much less disruptive, yeah? And you feel that it's aimed at all the people watching the movie. It's not like, oh, hey, we saw that you were eating pizza with ananas yesterday, so we thought, you know, so you know, you also have this less intrusive. But the result is the same, because most probably all the people who are watching a certain series, they have the same persona. Yeah. Let's take, I don't know, the latest whatever horror series. Everybody is not watching horror series. So people, so already you have some targeting that is being done. So you do not need to spy on people to find them. Yeah. So I think that's what is important. But if you understand well who are your target customer, if you understand well their lifestyle, what they watch, what they do, you know where to find them without, you know, being so intrusive. Yeah. So I think it's a stalking that is very annoying. the trying to nudge people. You cannot nudge people, yeah? Let's say if I love music, I have a budget to spend every month on music, or I love fashion. Every month I will spend a certain amount on fashion. So you will not force me into tuning my car or buying new shoes. No, just if you are on my way and I see something interesting, it will be you instead of another company. That's for sure. But you didn't nudge me into buying the pair of shoes. This is not true. Yeah. So I think that's important to understand. And somehow you will buy from people who connect with you. You engage with them. You feel they respected you. Yeah. You don't feel they are doing some fishy activity. Yeah. And then you will engage, you will trust, because oh wow, this type of shoes. Let's say the shoes will seduce you. Yeah, you will see the shoe, you will see, you say, oh wow, that's exactly the color. So that's how you need to attract your consumer, by actually what you are proposing to them, not by how stalking you are in reaching to them. Yeah, so I think that the budget should be spent much more differently. Yeah, there should be more budget on making meaningful products and services. And then people, when they will see them, they will say, oh wow, this is awesome, I was dreaming of it. Yeah, instead of making some random crap product and services and then trying to push them by all means, by putting chocolate smell at the bus stop or online, by having some celebrity push it. It's true. We also did some research on, celebrities. Yeah, let's say influencer. People are not dumb. They make the difference between the product and services that the celebrities are really using, and that may or may not have helped them become famous. And then they want to use them too, because they say, you never know. Maybe it was not because they're beautiful stuff. Maybe it's just because of this product they were using. Yeah. And then you have the product that they feel they are promoting there, so then, yeah, obviously they didn't become famous thanks to this product or services, so I will not buy them. Yeah. But I think also you have a lot of players in this market, a lot of media company, a lot of creative agency that they make money from it. Huh? So I think all of these different actors, they need to try to have a bit stronger business ethics. For sure, it might shrink the business for some of them. So maybe some of them have to convert to something else, to pivot, So I'm not saying it's easy, but at some point, I think it's better the companies do it before the consumer starts getting really angry, and then they will reject everything as a block. That's what happened with Netflix, when people move to Netflix. Yeah.
Yes, a lot of Netflix users have gone away from Netflix post-COVID, sort of when they're not in lockdown. A lot of people trying to morph their settings and sort of dupe the recommender system so they can see more diverse content. Are you telling us, Diana, that less is best, and we should be building better products to attract end users and customers than spending time spamming them with digital communications? Is that your assessment?
Yeah, for sure. I think originally, the advertising was there to inform people, like, oh, hey, we have this awesome product. But I mean, if you say, oh, hey, we have this awesome product 20 times, they still didn't buy, several options. They don't have the money yet, or they don't care, most likely. We are approached by many companies that are, oh, we need to educate the consumer. Yeah, no, you don't need to educate the consumer. Trust me, if the consumer don't take your technology, it's because they don't care. It's useless. For you, it's very useful, but you're not the persona. For the persona, it's useless. So you cannot educate them. Yeah. So I think we need to educate more the brands, the companies. They need to be educated and to understand what consumer want, how they want it, and then try to follow the law. And if you feel that the law is missing and you are doing things that are not so ethical, be more proactive into helping put together some law. Because what I'm observing is digital is often no man's land. Like you had things that were very clear in the physical life, and when we moved to digital, it was all blurry. But then there's a lot of opportunity to do great things. And as you said, there's also opportunity to do silly things. Yeah. I think technology, you can do whatever you want with it. For the story, I used to study computer science. So when I was younger, I was coding myself. So I can tell you, any program, any AI is as smart as the person developing it. Yeah. So, and sometimes not that much. Yeah. So, so you need to understand what can be done, what should be done, be more proactive, and then you can still make money. I think that's the story. You can still be profitable. Yeah. You can still be profitable, but you have anyway. I think nowadays more consumer, more companies are aware of the impact. We're just publishing, today our impact report, because yeah, everything has an impact on our environment. So I think if you are in an economy where the impact is also being taken into account, you cannot just make a formula that so many people are exposed, so much money. And no, how much does it cost all that? How much power do you need for all these servers? How much, what is the impact on the environment of people tossing things and buying new things? And so you need a broader picture. So for sure, I'm not saying it's easy. For some industries, it's more complicated because the whole business model was based on people repurchasing. And when you are on this type of product that people have to repurchase, then you do advertising more often. So you see, it's like a loop. Yeah, it's really like a never-ending loop. So I think if already the consumption pattern change, the advertising pattern will change, the frequency, of the advertising. So it all goes a bit together.
Yes, very much on the stickiness drivers and the hope for repeat visits. I remember working in industry, and it was really seconds. You had seconds to captivate someone's attention, to get to the cart and then to move out before. But if they did buy something, then you had to introduce some stickiness drivers for them to come back. The other thing was so much about behavioral engineering now and behavioral economics, and looking at persuasive design, but not the healthy persuasive design, the one that's about lock-in each time for the customer to come back and purchase. So I think this hockey stick growth that we believe we can extract from the limited person with the limited disposable income can't be a hockey stick. It's more a plateau over time, but we should be more perhaps concerned in offering good products without planned obsolescence. They don't die within like 12 months of purchasing them. And as you say, going to better product development right at the beginning, better business development right at the beginning of the design process. End life of a white good is usually 6 months, 12 months, 2 years maximum. And people have almost given up. Oh, yes, I'll just go and buy another cheap product, which, as you say, has a very negative impact on our environment and much more, generating a lot of e-waste. From your research, I mean, you have the book behind you, The Right Sensory Mix, which is a great book that I suggest. No, I know it's a coincidence. No. This is not product placement, but rather I wanted to actually talk about the book briefly, because I think, when our future technologies will probably be able to sense much about even the odor of the human being. How far does your book go into exploring the different sensory mix? What has your research shown you? And could you give us a short introduction to the book?
Yeah. So in fact, in the book, The Right Sensory Mix, so we see how to decode customers' behavior and preferences. So it's pretty much focused on how to deliver the right product, the right experience, the right service for a certain persona. So we have to know that, as people, we have a particular profile, a particular sensory perception, hormonal makeup, even microbiomal, different microbiome. Yes. And it all has an impact on our preferences. If you, maybe if we have some audio engineers following today, we demonstrated that some people hear 4 times louder than others. So equivalent people, attending the same number of concerts, whatever, if you take same age, whatever, some people hear 4 times louder. So it's 20 decibel difference. It's huge. Wow. So for sure, if you hear louder, you will be more bothered by noise pollution. you will be, an advertising, a digital advertising that on purpose is louder than the movie so that it gets noticed will kill you. Yeah, I'm amazed, for instance, that on the phone you don't have like some kind of a upper limit. It's very complicated. Why don't they put like in the phone an upper limit? So you have a lot of opportunity. So in fact, if let's say I'm a phone maker, I would make the sensor on off, very accessible. I would put a sound limit. Already, I have a certain percentage of the population that will love me. They will switch to the phone just for this reason. So I think there's many opportunities that are linked to our sensory perception, our physiology. So in the book, I try to give example for each sensor. So actually, we have more than 5 sensors. We have at least 10 and counting. To give some example of how you can use the knowledge, I would say for good. Because as you said, you can use this knowledge to do tricky, fishy things. We never do that. And I hope the reader will also not do that. I will be following, I will make sure. But you can use it also for good to unlock opportunity. Yeah. So it's not about losing opportunities. It's about switching, to better opportunities, better for your company in a sustainable way, better for people. Yeah. So we're addressing in the book all kind of sensor, from smell, from touch, for instance, robotic touch, the progress that has been done in the way to touch objects. Of course, also sensor that humans do not have. I gave the example of automated driving. When you try to teach a system how to recognize a pedestrian, it doesn't make any sense because a car can have an infrared camera. And unless you have a Starbucks mug crossing the street on its own, you probably have a human, with it. So if something is hot, it must be a living something, It will not be a lonely cup of coffee. So a car can have sensors that humans do not have. So again, the intelligence of the people coding is very important because you can have the system do all kinds of things. So today, I think the improvement we can do is in understanding people, because if you understand people better, at the other end, you understand sensor, what can be done, and then you can combine it to give us really an augmented reality. So it's not about imitating people in a silly way, it's to see where the sensor can even do better than people and where people still have a role to play, so it's a bit like a cyborg approach.
Yes, human robot augmentation. Diana, we're coming to the near final stage of our interview, but I've asked all our presenters of our pre-recorded session, if you had a single message for Silicon Valley, what would it be?
It's difficult. A single message, yeah. I would say that maybe I would make an analogy, all the brands I know, they are famous because at some point they did something awesome, Whether it's Louis Vuitton, they were the first to invent suitcases that are flat, sound silly, but you can pile them, Samsung, well, I'm not paid by any company, I must say, but they became famous. Why? Because they noticed that in 70% of the cases, people were taking a picture of themselves. So they invented, the selfie camera. So I think Silicon Valley is so prestigious and known because at some point you had people there who did awesome things, but it's not forever. So I mean, if now the people there are doing silly things, the Silicon Valley will be somewhere else. Yeah. So I think we see it also in the history of civilization. At some point, some civilization were on top, and then not so much on top. So I think, of course, if you say, oh, I'm from the Silicon Valley, you will have like a good a priori, but it's just an a priori. And like with brand, if you have a brand that disappoints you one time, you give it a second chance. That's why brand is important. But then they disappoint you a second time, a third time, then you switch. Yeah. So I think, yeah. So I think they have a great reputation, but they should be then at the forefront to make sure to keep it and to set the example and the tone, I think, for others, which I'm not sure it's the case right now. Probably there are some great companies, some less great. But yeah, for sure in social media, I'm not so sure, they are the forefront. I'm sure they can do better. But after watching today, I'm sure, they will set up a meeting, and and make some change.
I hope they do, because you're an absolutely wonderful human being, Diana Derval. Thank you, Professor, for your time, your volunteerism, your openness, the many decades of research and practice you've contributed to marketing and beyond, to brands, to companies, to now technical organizations as well. We are all learning so much from you, but I come back to your common sense, which I think drives much of your research in its very empirical state and hypothesis-driven state. But look what you've given us. You've given us the importance of recognizing what we should all have known, the limits of the advertising model, and also this notion of weight marketing and how we should be going along ethical marketing lines. So we thank you for your time. We thank you for your contribution. Thank you for your uniqueness, and the way you present yourself. I think it's going to inspire a lot of creativity in our younger generation coming through, and may they be able to take some advice from you and put it into their own startups and their own companies, because we can do some magnificent things. Even your website is different. I would encourage people to go to your website. Is it Diana Derval or DervalResearch.com? Yes?
Yes. DervalResearch.com. Yeah, it's difficult to do different. I must tell you, you have to investigate many tools. But yeah, thank you for inviting me to bringing some diversity. I hope I was not too harsh on the Silicon Valley, but I said it because I'm not coming to San Jose, so I'm far away. They cannot do anything in Germany. So I wish you, a wonderful event, symposium, and I will be binge watching all the talks that were recorded. So thank you so much, you for your time and for making all that possible.
Thank you, Diana. I'm just going to go to the end of our credits here and just say, you've just heard a talk by Diana Derval of DervalResearch. It was titled Divide and Conquer, Preventing Over-Targeted Advertising. May you all capture those outcomes from this talk. If you like what you've heard today, please do register for the IEEE International Symposium on Digital Privacy and Social Media. The registration URL is right there. We have an in-person and also remote access to all the talks, as well as the pre-recorded talks that will be hosted on the website, and also IEEE.tv. Finally, if you're interested in learning more about the societies that are supporting and are the technical sponsor to this conference, please visit the IEEE Consumer Technology Society, the Digital Privacy Initiatives, the Society on the Social Implications of Technology, and also IEEE Future Directions Committee. You've listened to Diana Derval. I'm Katina Michael. I'd like to thank you for the audience attention, and may we see you again in the near future. Thank you again, Diana.